All right. So, Paula, if you want to just tell me your name and your position.
Okay, I'm Paula DeBiasi, and I have a couple positions. I'm the executive director of the Illinois Limousine Bus Association, and I'm also an owner-operator of Chicago CoachWorks for the last 10 years.
All right. And, I know there's been a name change with the Illinois Limousine Association. So, tell us how that came about and what it symbolizes now.
Our membership has been moving toward shuttles and buses, and at an increasing rate. And the board of directors decided that would be a great idea to really incorporate the term bus into the name. So we changed our name to the Illinois Limousine and Bus Association in around September, October. We're still going through the transition, but
And how many members do you have in your association?
we have 70 currently.
And of those 70, what percentage would you say are actually operating buses?
We're working on actually a report, a survey right now of the entire membership because we haven't done one in a while. I'd say at least 25% or more.
Okay. And while we're talking about buses, Chicago has implemented probably some of the most bizarre laws in the nation in terms of party buses that are really having an effect on not only the operator but the end user, the consumer. Tell us about those laws, and specifically, I understand that you have to have a security guard on board a bus that has alcohol. So tell us a little more about that.
So back in 2016, in the fall of 2016, the city of Chicago passed an ordinance that required operators that were operating 15 passenger or more vehicles, so capacity of 15 plus, to have a security guard when they were going to destinations where alcohol was either being served or they were going to be having alcohol on the vehicle. It's a very complicated law, but we'll give you just a highlight. Since then, the city of Chicago has been reaching out to us on several occasions to try and find out, what could we do together to see if we can modify the law. But actually, it ended up a little bit more challenging. So we have this. We have to have a licensed Illinois security guard, unarmed, on most of the trips. Documentation on the vehicle, disclosures to the consumer when they board. Which has really become challenging because what happens is it sends a very unclear message to consumers that it's not safe in Chicago. Where we're trying to promote safety, it sends the opposite message, like we have to have a security guard on board. We know it's not the customer, but for your protection. So that's been a challenging message. The other part of it is the cost. So many of our limo companies have been experiencing challenges and loss of groups because when you add $40, $50 an hour security for a charter, that can present a huge cost on multi-day trips, or multi-day events, I should say. So so recently we have been working and collaborating with local DMCs in retail to join us in the discussions with the city officials. We meet every couple of months. We're having conversations about what can we do to make this regulation easier for everyone involved. We're sharing with them the retail side because I think partly a lot of times associations feel they need to fight it alone, but our president and a number of our members realized that we needed to bring the DMCs along, and those groups so that the city could actually hear what the impact was, because they were continuing to say no impact on tourism. Now they're hearing from those who book the larger events, and I think it's been eye-opening.
So in terms of that, a hotel presumably has a bar and serves alcohol. Mm-hmm. So let's say you have a group that's leaving the hotel and going to the airport at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Don't need it for that.
Okay, good. So, that was my question, is that is a licensed liquor establishment, right, being a hotel. Now, also, I've heard recently that there's some changes in the laws with respect to minimum pay and minimum wage, things that are specific to your area. I don't know anything about that. Can you share?
We have a couple of things going on. There's a statewide minimum wage change that'll be effective over the next 5 years, and I believe it's $15 up to $15 an hour, but it'll be incremental. the city of Chicago has been doing their own, and I believe that's currently $13.50, and that'll be going up one more time, and they'll be at $15 probably this year. Along with that, we've been recently informed that the City Council is considering what we call a restrictive scheduling ordinance, which we hear is occurring in many several cities, but Chicago is apparently proposed as the most restrictive. So what it basically means in a nutshell is that employers with 50 or more employees making less than $50,000 a year have to submit work schedules 2 weeks in advance to employees. Now, if you think about our industry, when it's very, very, very challenging, and it has an impact on our membership, our larger operators in particular. But we're pointing to membership that everyone really could be affected down the road if there's adaptation of the other cities and that kind of thing. So essentially, the scheduling would be restricted. So it's not only an issue for employers, who will get fined if they try to change the schedule and don't follow the course of law, but it's also difficult for employees. Right now, an owner prides himself on if somebody needs time off, or, I've got a sick kid at home, I'm sorry, sir, can I switch schedules with someone else? They make it a very difficult challenge. There is a coalition which has been formed. It's being run by a PR group, and it's called Work Your Way Coalition. They reached out to us. There are 24 associations in the city of Chicago area that have joined this. They're mostly retail, but they realized transportation was another facet. So the officers of the ILLBA decided that it was probably a good thing for us to join. And we're just starting to get involved in it. We've announced it to our membership, and we're encouraging them for any press conferences, things like that, to start to get involved. We're hoping they don't vote on it in April. But as you know, in Chicago, we have a runoff election April 2nd, or something like that. So we're hoping that they hold it off a little bit. But essentially, this could be very devastating for our larger operators who may find themselves in a situation where, with this restrictive scheduling, that if an event comes with 3 days' notice, that they may not be able to do it. And that will have a downstream effect on all of our membership.
I see. And I have one last final question, and this is really breaking news that just came up. I'm sure that you're aware that it's been announced that there will be 2 back-to-back limo shows here in Vegas in 2020. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I can only speak from what I see from our membership. Like, we come to shows, you will only see a handful of our members. Our membership is 55% is under 5 vehicles. Their budgets are modest. So as an association, we have been working very hard to bring them excerpts from the shows, because many of them, their budgets just will not sustain them being either out of the office or even traveling that long. I don't think it's going to change for them. This will, in fact, maybe make it more challenging. But when we look at our membership, that's our first priority right now, and that will continue to be that. So our annual meeting is May 15th. We bring whatever we can to them, in the hopes that maybe someday they'll be able to go to different shows and things. But right now, we really want to cater to those operators who want to learn more, but just don't have the means.
Paula, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate the information you've shared with our viewers today. Thanks for being on.
You're welcome.